AITA for telling my husband to get rid of our son's dog? I've been terrified of dogs since I was young. My husband knew, but I don't think he realized how bad it was until recently. He got our son a dog, and at first, I was angry, but he promised it wouldn't come near me, and our son was really happy, so I agreed they could keep it as long as it was kept away from me. For 2 months it was fine, and I barely thought about the dog being so close, but a few days ago the dog came inside and it freaked me out. I told my husband he had to get rid of it now since he broke his promise, and I didn't trust him to keep it away from me anymore. My husband doesn't want to get rid of it because our son is very attached to it already, and the dog is harmless according to him. He wants me to let him take me around the dog so that I'll stop being so scared of it, but I've refused and told him it had to go. We argued, and he told me that if I wanted it gone, I would have to take it myself. My in-laws came to visit yesterday, and my mother-in-law asked me if something had happened between us, because I'm still angry at him, and she noticed. I told her about the dog, and she told him off and said she taught him better than to traumatize his pregnant wife. Now my husband is upset at me because he thinks I only told his parents to force him to do what I wanted, and that we'd hurt our son if we got rid of the dog now. AITA? Ash, if your phobia is that bad, and you are unwilling to address it, you should never have allowed the dog to stay even one night. Your husband never should have gotten the dog without your consent. And the breeder or rescue never should have allowed him to have a dog without knowing all adults in the home were on board. Now your son and a dog will be hurt because of your collective actions. Ash, husband is in awe for not being considerate of your fears. You for agreeing to a dog you knew you couldn't handle, and then trying to get rid of it after your son has grown attached. Wait, has the dog been outside the whole time? Ash, but honestly, mostly YTA. Why did you let your son keep the dog for 2 months? What did you expect? That it would just stay outside forever? That's some assholish behavior to begin with. Unless it was a dog that enjoys the outdoors. Dogs need to be inside with their pack. So, again, what did you expect would happen here? Your husband is obviously in awe for apparently not realizing how frightened you are, but fuck. Take some ownership of this situation. You should have rehomed the dog in a responsible way immediately instead of hurting both your son and the dog by allowing a relationship to form. You honestly sound so selfish. Ash, your husband was wrong to get the dog without consulting you. However, if you were going to disallow the dog, you had to do it immediately. It is really unfair on your child to let them get attached for 2 months and then change your mind. Obviously you were going to have to come into contact with a dog that lives in your home. Your husband is also wrong to say it's okay for the dog to be removed, but you have to do it. What kind of pathetic position is that? It doesn't stand by your son or the dog, and it belittles you. He should have the strength in his conviction to either defend having the dog or agree that it needs to leave for your good. To introduce the dog into your home and then act so passive is really weak. Ash, the dog deserves people who love him. Welcome to Am I the Asshole? Please view our voting guide here. And remember to use only one judgment in your comment. Op has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my husband to get rid of our son's dog. I might be the asshole as I won't even try to get over my fear, and I told my mother-in-law he wouldn't after he refused to help keep the sub engaging. Don't downvote assholes. Do upvote interesting posts. Click here for our rules and click here for our FAQ. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Contest mode is 1.5 hours long on this post. Ash. Your husband is awful for getting a dog when he knows you have a phobia and being unrealistic about being able to keep a dog away from someone who lives in the same house all the time. You're also ta because of your refusal to put in effort to stop your son from getting hurt by separating from his beloved pet. None of this is your son's fault. So as the adults in this situation, both you and your husband should be the ones putting effort in to not needlessly sadden a child. Your phobia is something you can work on, at least getting better with being near dogs if not completely overcoming. As someone who used to have a phobia of dogs, I used to have to cross the road if I saw a leashed dog coming down the same side of the road from 100 meters away because I was so scared. Let me tell you that overcoming your phobia is 100% achievable through basically forcing myself to be near calm, friendly dogs. I now have no issues being around dogs, petting dogs, etc. unless they're loud or lunge at me. Who gets a dog without talking to their spouse first? That's definitely a purchase that requires conversation first. NTA. The dog deserves a home that wants it, not a home where it has to be locked outside all the time. Sorry to say it, but Ash, apart from the son and the dog. To be clear, your husband is the major here. He should not have brought any pet into the household without discussing it with you first. Especially an animal he knows you are afraid of. I suspect he didn't talk to you about it so that you couldn't say no and would be forced to accept the situation. He effectively has put you in a situation where you were always going to look like an to your son, unless you were totally accepting. Unfortunately, you're the for allowing the dog to be there for 2 months. And now saying it has to go. Again, you were pushed into this situation. But if you needed the dog gone, right when it got there was the time to do it. The dog is now settled, and your son is attached. I would strongly recommend getting some therapy to help with your fear. I'm sure there is someone in your local area who can come to the house and help you to not afraid of your dog, at least. Even if not all dogs. It will be a valuable teaching point for your son. Can help your whole family enjoy this new fluffy addition, and will be a huge weight off your shoulders. Please give it a go before you rehome the dog. I have a feeling your fear of dogs is pretty crippling and probably super inconvenient to the people around you. For the sake of your kids, I think you should go to therapy and try to move past this fear and not give your son's dog away. Ash. But your husband is worse. Pets are a 2 yes, 1 no situation. He should never have brought that dog home. Just not wanting one is enough. The fact that you're terrified heightens how bad his act of bringing home the dog was. You're a little tiny bit because you made an impossible to do demand. You really can't live in a house with an animal that isn't in a tank or cage and avoid them all the time. You should have stuck to your guns and demanded that the dog had to go. Good on your Mill for going after her son. He's forced you into an untenable, unsustainable situation. NTA, but at least Mill is on your side. That is rare on this subreddit. Automod, thanks for posting. This comment is a copy of your post so readers can see the original text if your post is edited or removed. This comment is not accusing you of copying anything. Read this before contacting the mod team. I've been terrified of dogs since I was young. My husband knew, but I don't think he realized how bad it was until recently. He got our son a dog, and at first, I was angry, but he promised it wouldn't come near me, and our son was really happy, so I agreed they could keep it as long as it was kept away from me. For 2 months it was fine, and I barely thought about the dog being so close, but a few days ago the dog came inside and it freaked me out. I told my husband he had to get rid of it now since he broke his promise, and I didn't trust him to keep it away from me anymore. My husband doesn't want to get rid of it because our son is very attached to it already and the dog is harmless according to him. He wants me to let him take me around the dog so that I'll stop being so scared of it, but I've refused and told him it had to go. We argued and he told me that if I wanted it gone, I would have to take it myself. My in-laws came to visit yesterday and my mother-in-law asked me if something had happened between us, because I'm still angry at him and she noticed. I told her about the dog and she told him off and said she taught him better than to traumatize his pregnant wife. Now my husband is upset at me because he thinks I only told his parents to force him to do what I wanted and that we'd hurt our son if we got rid of the dog now. AITA? I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. In AITA, this man got a surprise dog knowing his pregnant wife had a long-standing fear. Adding pets to the family should always be a discussion between two people. While I agree that it's definitely a fear to work on getting over, shock therapy during pregnancy is the absolutely worst way to go about this. Especially if the wife goes into postpartum with a fear trigger at home. Seems like Op tried to get the husband to rehome the dog immediately and his refusal made her feel even more trapped. Ash, your husband is a major off for getting a dog that he knew you weren't okay with. He should have never gotten a dog and put you in this situation. You both are awes for keeping a dog in those conditions. Dogs are living beings. They should not be outside all day or cooped up. You two should have never gotten a living being in this situation. Give the dog to a loving home and be done with it. NTA. This is not how married couples make decisions. He gets to look like the hero to your son at your expense. You guys could have worked something out if there was a discussion beforehand. But once your husband brought the dog home, it was too late to save the situation. Your son was already going to have his heart broken and blame you for it if you sent it away. That being said, getting therapy for your phobia would be a good idea, not just because of this specific circumstance, but because you are not likely to be able to avoid dogs for the rest of your life. The timing of the added stress of the dog during your pregnancy is also not ideal. Maybe the dog can stay in a foster home or with a friend or family member while you are working on overcoming your fear. NTA. Forcing someone's hand by bringing the object of their phobia into their home without asking first, then offering to help them overcome it all while using their love for their son. A form of emotional blackmail is super manipulative and coercive. Nobody gets to decide for you that it's time to get over a phobia you have. I get that it's Reddit and people here love dogs. And I do genuinely feel sorry for the dog and child, who are innocent parties here. But Op, your husband was incredibly disrespectful in this situation. Caring about your spouse means, among other things, not being dismissive of their need to feel comfortable and safe. If you marry someone with a phobia of dogs, you have to accept that you don't get to have a dog, unless they decide they want to do the work to fix their phobia. NTA. I don't get all the YTA. I am a dog lover, but I respect that not everyone is going to love my dog and some people have a fear of them. The husband is the asshole. You don't buy a dog. Something that requires a potential 10-year commitment of love and attention if your partner isn't on board. Especially if they have said they don't have a fear of dogs. All the people saying, well, it's your fear and you need to deal with it. In public or someone else's house, yes, but not in your own home. Your home should be a safe place. Thinking that the dog would just stay outside or not come near her is stupid, but by the sounds of it, she has never had a dog, so what does she know about living with one? Your husband has created an unsafe and stressful environment for his pregnant wife. And either the wife or the kid is going to be upset and it's his fault. I mean, why would you even allow it? I am terrified of dogs. I have had horrible incidents and I would never allow any family member or whoever I live with it to get a dog, because I can't have constant panic attacks in my own house. In 2 months obviously he is going to get attached.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.